like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text STAPLE to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text STAPLE to 321-321. That's STAPLE to 321-321.
Take ESPN Northwest Florida with you everywhere you go.
Anytime, anyplace, anywhere.
The sports talk and live play-by-play doesn't have to end when you get out of the car. The ESPN Northwest Florida app streams your favorite sports talk hosts and the biggest games in ultra-high fidelity.
This is of utmost importance in travel.
Take the sports talk monster with you anywhere you go. Available for Android and iPhone.
Use it anywhere or any place.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. The rest of the day there will be a gentle breeze out of the southwest, some sun and 86. Possible thunderstorms and partly cloudy skies tonight, about the same at 79. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and a light breeze right around 5 miles per hour with a high of 87. About the same at 89 Thursday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Mexican cuisine? Then come to El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, where we serve up the freshest, most flavorful dishes on the beach. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, a great location, comfortable atmosphere, and happy hour from 3 to 7. Buy one, get one free, regular margaritas and 12-ounce house drafts. And you're going to love their lunch specials, Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. Plus, live music Wednesdays and Saturdays starting at 5:30. El Rodeo Tequila Bar and Grill, Thomas Drive, across from the Navy base.
And 10908 Front Beach Road.
No one wants to deal with a plumbing, electrical, or HVAC emergency. It's even worse when you're not sure what it'll cost, when it'll get fixed, or if someone's just selling you something. When you call Hiller, you can trust our experts to actually solve your home's problems quickly. And with true transparency pricing, you know the price you're told is the price you'll actually pay. Book online now at happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face Truck today. Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Need a tow? Call Billy at Hometown Towing, 850-265-1560.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John. Powered by Panama City Toyota, ESPN Northwest Florida. Transmitting from the CBC Construction Studio. Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onions, pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Way back and gone.
On ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What is going on, Northwest Florida? Thank you for putting me in the program, Caveman Rick. If you don't mind, I don't really care to listen to myself over and over again. No, I'm just messing around. Caveman Rick, Tyler Bishop, I'm David Hayes. We are the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 on your dial. We're live and loud from the CBC Construction Studios. You can go to cbcconstruction.com or give them a ring at 850-747 888-3815. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Like and share the Facebook feed and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't mind. You can also download the app and register over there at your Google Play or your Apple Store. Type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and you can take us with you wherever you go. Big win for the Braves last night. We had Stanley Cup Finals Game 3 last night. A lot of fights to end that game, and no points, or no goals anyways, for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, which left the old Hard Rock account feeling sad last night.
Not mine, though.
Yeah, you
I did all right.
You were on the opposite side of that. We'll talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup Finals here. Coming up, Game 3 will not be until Thursday evening, I believe.
Yeah, I believe Thursday.
Yeah, so you got NBA Finals Game 3 coming up Wednesday. Stanley Cup Finals Thursday. We won't have Andrew Weiss on with us until Friday. He's not able to go Thursday, the day of the game, but we'll have him on to talk Stanley Cup Finals Friday afternoon. But today at 4:20, we will talk NBA Finals with Mark Monteith and a whole bunch more. I've got some questions pertaining to Pacers history and a player that he would most like to play a game of horse with that played for the Indiana Pacers. We've got Tyler's takes on a Tuesday going up at 5, but we'll play a little overrated or underrated there. We've got the FPI Top 25 coming out, so Tyler will go through each team and let us know if he thinks they're going to be overrated or underrated, or maybe the FPI got them just right. Highly doubt it. Fact or fiction on some college football bowl predictions today at 5:20. Then we're going to wrap it up with some NFL start bench cuts, but we're going to take an NFL current player. We're going to take a superstar from the 2000s and then an icon from the 90s and play a little start bench cut. Our call-in question of the day. Call or text in your answer on the Red 7T's phone line. Red 7T's, the brand that brands you. You can reach out to them at 850-612-7007 or visit their website at red7ts.com. The Red 7T's text-in question of the day. If NIL had existed back in the day, who would have been the richest college athlete ever? We're going to do that right after the Atlanta Braves before we dive into some other headlines, just because I'm going to try to keep us on schedule this afternoon. Will it happen?
Probably
99.9% chance that we will not stay on track, but we are going to try our hardest. Give us a call or text 850-215-6290 on the Red 7T's phone line. The Atlanta Braves won last night 7-1. Chris Sale pitched a gem, 7 innings pitched, gave up 5 hits, just 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. Then Raisel Iglesias in the setup position, which not necessarily a setup role last night, as the Braves were up 7-1 at that point, comes in, strikes out 2 in his inning pitched, giving up no hits. Then Dylan Lee to close out the game. He also pitched an inning, struck out 2, and gave up no hits. So a good sign there for the bullpen. For the first time, you had a great start from Chris Sale. You had, maybe not the first time, but the first time in a long time, we can guarantee that all 3 facets of the game last night, being offense, being the starting pitching, and the bullpen, were in cohesion last night, which attributed to a Braves win. Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, and Eli White going off with a home run, and the Braves, with that, avoid their first 8-game losing streak since way back in 2016.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
How about that? Snicker didn't find a way to lose it for him, huh?
What's that?
Snicker didn't find a way to lose it for him, huh?
There you go, man. He just stayed out of the way last night. Also for the Braves, Ozzie Albies got his 1,000th career hit last night with a single to left in the 8th inning last night. Tonight, the Atlanta Braves are going to be putting Grant Holmes on the bump. He's 3-4 ERA, just under 4 at 3.99. His whip is sitting at 1.2, and he's got 68 strikeouts on the year. For the Brewers, is Quinn Priester. He's 3-2 ERA, similar to Grant Holmes, at 3.88. whip at 1.31, and he's only got 36 strikeouts on the year. Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna Jr. are your bright spots headed into the game. Riley hitting .285, 13 doubles, and 11 home runs. Ronald Acuna Jr. 11 for 37 with 3 home runs and 4 RBIs over his last 10 games. Atlanta Braves right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starting at 6 for a first pitch of 6:40 tonight. Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida, brought to you locally by Bill Bird Kia, PCB Hobby, Panama City Toyota, Hewitt Tire and Auto, and Hometown Towing. We'll get over to the text line, 850-215-6290, brought to you by Red 70s. What if NIL had existed back in the day? Who would have been the richest college athlete ever? We'll go to the comments now to get a few answers, and we've got James Lehman saying Reggie Bush, to which Chuck replies he was already getting NIL money, which a lot of players were already getting NIL money, but it wasn't legal money. So therefore, I think Reggie Bush would be a plausible answer for this because he would have made a lot more NIL, or at least would have never even had the black eye of losing the Heisman, and that would have been more beneficial for Pete Carroll and the Trojans if they had never had to deal with that situation.
Maybe Pete Carroll never leaves USC.
And then, wow,
then what?
Does that
Seattle?
I mean, does that, if Pete Carroll never leaves USC and they, kind of stay near dynasty, like in Ohio State,
still relevant.
They stay not just relevant, but I mean, I'm talking top tier relevant, because of their brand, somehow they stay relevant. But if they stayed Ohio State relevant, which is much more than relevance, but near excellence each and every year. I hate saying nice things about Ohio State, but there you go, Buckeyes. Does that affect like the Alabama dynasty at that point?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to go back and say.
It's so hard.
You're talking maybe 1 or 2 players per recruiting class here and there, and it changed a whole lot. But man, that machine that Saban
it could have changed it. I mean, Saban, maybe he goes to Seattle instead of Miami.
Well, like Bryce Young, like a player like Bryce Young, and I'm sure that there was plenty. Jalen Hurts is from
Najee
Texas.
Najee Harris, California guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so many of those college recruits, right, out of California, what if they stayed home? Because when USC's down and then UCLA is not picking up the slack,
does Tua stay out west instead of coming out? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of those what is.
Right. And then that changes the direction of the length of the dynasty. Does Nick Saban bow out earlier? And it's not because of NIL and transfer portal, but it's like, I'm not getting the results anymore because USC and Pete Carroll are taking care of business. But Pete Carroll over there with the Las Vegas Raiders doing, hopefully, going to do some big things in the AFC West this year.
Fun team.
Yeah.
It's so much newness, so much, and Pete Carroll's just a fun coach. Easy guy to root for. It's going to be a really interesting division that over there. It's going to be a crazy good division.
And not only that, who do they have at OC? Chip Kelly, right?
Chip Kelly.
Yeah, so Pete Carroll's right over there. Then you're bringing in Geno Smith, who had success over there with the Raiders. You've got one of the best tight ends in football in Brock Bowers.
Yes, sir.
A running back, which, it's not Josh Jacobs anymore, but now it's Ashton Genty, which was the biggest.
Zamir White still.
And Zamir White. You got Zeus over there. But that was the biggest question mark for the Raiders. One of the biggest. They had a lot of question marks. I mean, it looked like the Riddler out there. But now you're answering these questions. Defense looks, you got one of the best defensive edge rushers in the game in Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Right there. So, offensively speaking, now, who is it at wide receiver for them?
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers. And he took a step in the right direction. Yeah, so
it's a really fun, interesting team going into the season.
Well,
an interesting division, as a whole.
Right, the division as a whole, because of the step up that the Broncos took last year. The Chargers also getting Najee Harris, and then year 2 with Coach Harbaugh, and then
the step back the Chiefs are making.
This step back. If you lose in the Super Bowl, it's a step back. That is I would love to be a fan of a team where our step back is just losing.
It was their worst season in 3 years, I guess, right? And they lost the Super Bowl.
Worst game that they had in how long? I don't know.
It's their worst season. it's tied for their worst season in what, 5-6
like
years, right? Because the season, the last time that they lost prior to this, wasn't that them losing the Super Bowl to Tom Brady? No, it wasn't, because 2021 was Bengals Rams.
So
Bengals
they lost the
AFC Championship. Ooh, my goodness gracious! What's it like to not make it to the Super Bowl?
First world problems there, you know.
Oh my gosh. Moving on here with what if NIL had existed back in the day? Who would have been the richest college athlete ever? Chris Enfinger. He's going with the Florida State guy, and Peter Warwick.
No.
He could have afforded those shoes from Dillard's at that point.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he would have made some money, though, but I think that we're talking about a big separation in your big-time basketball players and then your
basketball, you're not getting the longevity that you're getting out of college football, because, you know, so much.
And he did play both.
Yeah.
He did play both. So that does help Peter Warwick out to a large degree. And then he would have been able to capitalize on name, image, and likeness, because had that been around in that world, I think that Peter Warwick raises to another level, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think back when he played, though, too, man, that was like 90s, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, money was a lot different. You know what I mean? Like, when you're talking about who can capitalize and make the most, it had to be somebody in the last, you know, like 15 years, I would say.
That's probably because the image of the sport has grown so much, like, in popularity. Like, I
don't want to give mine away, but I can tell you what I'm thinking.
Well, we'll get to yours before we get to Mark Monteith, that's for sure. Chef Ross going with Brian Bosworth. Again, not in the level, but if we take this money and apply it to them in their time, maybe not richest ever, but you add all of the extenuating circumstances or whatever.
No doubt.
It's fun to think about. Brian Bosworth, though, definitely would have been one of those who would have made, it would have been a top tier ambassador.
Definitely made a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely made a lot more acting than he did in his football career.
Yeah. There you go. Ethan Hewitt's going with Tim Tebow. That would be Clayton Mount as well, Tim Tebow.
That's who I picked.
That would have been very interesting to see how the landscape of NIL, but then also the landscape of Tim Tebow and what he represented in the realm of faith. Yeah. Like where does the line get drawn? What does the intersection look like? I think that would have been a fun player to see how that would have worked out for. Jack Patterson going with Charlie Ward. Wait, that's who I'm thinking of that played both ways, right?
Yeah,
Peter Ward. Yeah. That's who I was thinking of. Let's go to Chuck Sowers. He's got Grant Hill and Bo Jackson. Grant Hill, I mean, Team USA, Duke, and then obviously his NBA career as well. Yeah, I think he would have been up there.
It's got to be your college career, and like before you get to college, that's where you're making the NIL.
But he was a big name at Duke, and then also that Team USA that year that he would have been playing for them would have been his rookie year, but it would have been that year after. He would have been playing in between his rookie season and his final season at Duke there. So I don't think he would have been one of the richest in his time playing, but he definitely would have made some money there. Ryan Mulvey has got my answer, and the guy's nickname was it Johnny Money Manziel. Johnny Football.
He probably would have been up there, but he only played 2 full years.
2 years.
So that's why. So Tim Tebow was actually my answer, because he was such a big thing as a freshman. Florida won the national championship his first year. He was such a big thing. Urban Meyer was such a big thing. Like, I think that was a perfect storm of, like, as far as cap. But I mean, I also got like Matt Leinart.
Yeah.
Especially when he came back for his senior season. Peyton Manning, when he came back for his senior season, when Tennessee was as big as they were. Mm-hmm. USC was at the height of the Pete Carroll dynasty. Like, those are some guys too. Like, being a quarterback, playing 4 years. Like, I think that kind of stuff is how you really, if we're talking like hypothetical projected value, that's kind of where my mind went, was quarterbacks who were prominent early, played a long time.
Yeah.
But Johnny Manziel, I mean, he made a ton of money probably already, because he was kind of one of the, not the first ones, but one of the most recent guys that kind of pushed on the NIL. And I'm not going to say won, but kind of got challenged and didn't get suspended, which is a win.
Like signing balls and stuff like that, and signing memorabilia and getting paid for that kind of jazz and stuff like that.
Doing the whole trademark.
But I think Tim Tebow's what really like reinvigorated, I think, the whole NIL stuff, because of all the jerseys selling, all the Florida jerseys and stuff around that time. And I think that really kind of helped it to be where it is at today.
Yeah, but see, you have that kind of difference of Tim Tebow where, like, not that I ever heard any different, but I don't think Tim Tebow was complaining about not eating off of what the Gators were eating off of him. Whereas, I mean, Ed O'Bannon with UCLA was mad that his likeness was in a video game. And that's where it wasn't even the signings or cars like this. Guys, you're using my name, image, and likeness in a video game, and I'm not getting no cut from it.
That's why we lost
understood that. Yeah, exactly.
Decade, you know, so that was... Yeah, that was. I think when the NCAA video game went away, that's kind of when the whole NIL stuff I feel like behind the scenes started getting a little more traction, and obviously we've seen what it's become the last few years, and not great.
So really, 2016? I feel like is when NIL really started.
It first became legal. Like the 2021-ish is kind of when it first started being allowed. Because Bryce Young was one of the first big guys that signed a quote unquote big NIL contract. So I mean, you're still talking only last few years, but
well, if we want to go all the way back in this timeline, 1956, NCAA begins to allow student athletes to receive athletic scholarships without regard for their academic ability or financial hardships.
We ain't here to play school.
1975, the NCAA updated its regulations limiting scholarships to tuition, books, and board. 1984, in a 7-2 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court declared that the NCAA's control of college football television broadcast rights violated the Sherman and Clayton Antitrust Acts. The ruling gave member schools more autonomy to negotiate broadcast right agreements.
That was University of Georgia and Oklahoma spearheaded that lawsuit.
There you go, 2009. Former UCLA basketball standout Ed O'Bannon was a plaintiff in a class action against the NCAA. O'Bannon and the other plaintiffs claimed an EA Sports video basketball game used their likeness without consent or compensation. 2014, Northwestern University football players petitioned the National Labor Relations Board to classify them as employees and permit them to unionize and directly benefit from commercial opportunities. The NLRB petition was unsuccessful, but the NCAA and member schools were put on notice about limiting the monetization of NIL by student athletes. 2015, federal district and appellate courts upheld the arguments of O'Bannon and the other plaintiffs, ruling that the NCAA's amateurism rules were an unlawful restraint of trade. As a result, the NCAA increased the grant and aid limit to the full cost of attending school and allowed up to $5,000 per year in additional compensation. 2019, California became the first state to pass NIL legislation in the Fair Pay to Play Act, which prohibited the NCAA or member schools from punishing student athletes who earn NIL compensation. The new measure was set for enactment in 2023. We're almost to the end of these, so I'll just keep on reading them. But 2019 is when essentially that's when you started to get the pass, but looks like the enactment was set for 2023. 2020, Colorado, Florida, Nebraska, New Jersey, and several other states passed laws permitting college student athletes to monetize their NIL. These new regulations are scheduled for enactment in 2022 and 2023. The NAIA passed regulations allowing NIL compensation for its student athletes. The NAIA regulates collegiate athletics at 252 member institutions who filled 77,000 athletes in 27 sports. In 2021, in NCAA versus Alston, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an NCAA appeal of its antitrust lawsuit, finalizing the lower court decision that the NCAA is not exempt from antitrust regulations. The ruling opened the floodgates for additional academic-related compensation and led to the NCAA's ultimate decision to quickly adopt an interim NIL policy that allowed, for the first time, student athletes to benefit financially from their NIL without fear of NCAA penalty. And then finally, 2022, the NCAA Board of Directors issued NIL guidance to member schools, which reinforced the prohibition of any recruiting incentives offered to student athletes linked to potential NIL arrangements. And we still don't really have any rules, and now the schools are going to be able to pay players up to $20.5 million of their revenue, right?
Yeah, so it's $20.5 million of revenue sharing, but that's for all athletics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what's going to be interesting. Like, I think we talked about it a show or two ago that, like, some of these mid-major schools, like the Big East, they're going to be able to funnel a lot more money into basketball than a Georgia, Bama, you know. And then if you're a school like Vanderbilt or Duke, like,
you get to choose.
I mean, how much do you put into football if you don't expect to be a power?
$5 million in football, $7 in the chess club.
Because I mean, it's at a certain point, like if you do $10 million to football, but another like $8 million towards basketball, now your basketball team's gonna be a lot better than everybody else.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see some of those fringe teams, how they balance those books. I mean, because football still makes all the money, but if you can be a national title contender in basketball as opposed to, because on a good year, Duke and Vandy are going to be 9-3.
Yeah,
I mean
that's a great year.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So which way do you decide to go there? It's going to be fun to see.
All right, final ones from our texting question of the day. What if the NIL had existed back in the day? Who would have been the richest college athlete ever? Bart Barnett says Jameis Winston. Scott Price, another Tebow. John Cannon says Neon Dion. And Mike Howdy McDaniel says Shaquille O'Neal. Possibly. You can keep your answers rolling in. We gave all of our answers. Who was yours?
I had Tim Tebow, but I think Peyton Manning and Matt Leinart both would have been some high profile. I mean, just from a football aspect, longevity, where their programs were at that time, I think.
So for Tyler, Tebow, Peyton, and Matt Leinart. For Caveman, Tim Tebow, and then I went with Johnny Manziel. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we are going to be on the line with Mark Monteith, longtime Pacers insider, author, and basketball historian. Keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mornings on ESPN Northwest Florida just got unsportsmanlike.
I buy socks from the supermarket. Is that weird?
Yes, that's strange. Supermarket socks?
I support it. You're going to rip every sock anyway.
No, some socks are very nice.
Yeah,
you want to take care of them.
There's a certain level of comfort.
I like supermarket socks.
Well, if you like it, then you like it.
Yeah, you like it, but I assume that you like it because you don't know no better.
Evan Canty and Michelle. Weekdays 5 to 7 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a gentle breeze out of the southwest, some sun and 86. Possible thunderstorms and partly cloudy skies tonight, about the same at 79. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and a light breeze right around 5 miles per hour with a high of 87. About the same at 89 Thursday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, where the locals go for the best boiled seafood around. Crawfish, shrimp, red royals, and everything crabs. Watch almost every sporting event in the country on their huge outdoor jumbotron. Follow them on Facebook to stay up to date on weekly events, live music, and food and beer specials. Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, your home away from home for sports, good times, and great food. The best boiled seafood. Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar,
320 West 5th Street, downtown Panama City.
Tired of boring merch and want your brand to stand out like the big names? Elevate your look with Red 7 Tees. They don't just print shirts, they create bold identities. They are a veteran-owned custom apparel shop providing the kind of detail that turns heads, using high-quality digital printing and embroidery to give you that unique style you love with no minimums or cookie-cutter designs. From small business to sports teams, if you've got a vision, they'll help you wear it proudly. Visit red7tees.com.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. It's real and it starts now. Back to the Afternoon Underdogs on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse, built by CBC Construction. You can visit their website at cbcconstruction.com or call them at 850-747-3815 for all of your construction needs. 4th annual Pop's Pig Pick and Barbecue coming up this Saturday. All proceeds will go to benefit hurricane relief efforts by Chef Ross. Dinner tickets are $20. Pool tournament runs at 1 p.m. and that is $15. All of this in honor of Ron Pops Robinson, which is Chef Ross's dad. It'll be at the Break Room right here off of Joan Avenue, 2727 Joan Avenue. Big shout out to Golf Plus, Pineapple Willie's, Team MVP by Epic Realty. You can call Leanne at 850-747-3186. Also, a great sponsor in ESPN Northwest Florida. Let's get over to the Red 7 Tees phone line. They are the brand that brands you. We've got Mark Monteith on the line with us, longtime Pacers insider, author, and basketball historian. Mark, how does this Tuesday find you up there in Indiana?
Oh, I'm doing great. Good to be with you guys.
Great to have you back. Game 2 did not go the way of the Pacers, but still a fun basketball game in the NBA Finals. What stood out to you most in Game 2's flow and momentum swings?
Oh, boy. Well, OKC, I think you just have to give them total credit. They came out ready. Being down 1-0-1, they were in a desperate situation, and they came out ready to go and just dominated the entire game. The Pacers have made so many unbelievable comebacks this season, but at halftime of that game, I thought they're not coming back this time. OKC was just too good. Pacers, did not come out with the same fire they did in Game 1, and that's been a mysterious thing about the Pacers all season. You put them in a comfort zone, they will relax in it. And, being up 1-0 like they were, in the back of their minds, they're thinking, well, we got our split here, and we got home court advantage now, and everything's good. They've had that tendency all year, although I should point out they did win both Games 1 and 2 in New York in the previous series. So, but I was not surprised that OKC won. I thought it might be a little bit closer, but I think it showed. We've seen so far that, hey, OKC is the better team. They proved it during the regular season, and really they proved it in Game 1 except for the final 0.3 seconds. Kind of a fluky ending to that one, and I'm giving the Pacers full credit for coming back. But you take the totality of Games 1 and 2, and OKC has dominated. So the Pacers are going to have to come up with something that can kind of shift the tide of this.
Yeah, we will have to see. Do you feel like the Pacers are outmatched after Game 2, or is that just a bunch of people overreacting to individual games?
Well, they are somewhat outmatched. I mean, SGA, as we call him now, Gilgeous Alexander he's MVP for a reason. He's just a fantastic offensive talent, basically unstoppable. He gets a shot off so quickly, and he knows how to avoid, step back and so forth. He can just always get it off. He's a remarkable shooter, so give him full credit. And there's no stopping him. You just try to make it as difficult as possible. But they've got so many other weapons too. Dort is a fantastic defender who's going to make life miserable for Halliburton throughout. They just got bodies everywhere, and they've got depth that pretty much matches the Pacers. So, like I said, they're really the better team. The Pacers, to me, are going to have to come up with something strategic or, take advantage of this home court situation they have now and get these next two games somehow. But otherwise, it's going to be really difficult for the Pacers.
One of the things I kept hearing the commentators talk about, Mark, was the fact that Tyrese Halliburton needs to be more aggressive. Now, one thing I do know is Tyrese Halliburton needs to make his first shot. I think that the statistics line up with that. But do you think that Tyrese needs to be more aggressive, or has the recipe for success for the Pacers been working to this point where sometimes the offense doesn't flow through Tyrese in terms of points as much as it does just his facilitation?
Yeah, he definitely needs to be more aggressive. Now, whether he needs to be more aggressive looking to score, you can debate, but he needs to get the ball into the paint, get the ball to the basket, and if that means dishing off to somebody else, fine. But he certainly needs to be more aggressive. And there have been games, throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, where he's been passive, and they cannot win that way. I think they can win with him scoring 12, 14 points as long as he gets 14, 15 assists, but they can't win with him, getting 12 points and 8 assists or 10 assists or whatever. He's got to be really aggressive, looking for something. It starts with him with looking for a shot, and if that means he draws the defense and dishes off, great. Usually I'm not in favor of point guards who look to score. I think a scoring point guard is like a running quarterback in football. It's not really what you're there for. But for this team, they need him to score or at least look to score. And that's held up throughout. So it was kind of mysterious that he wasn't more aggressive in the last game, but that's kind of been his tendency throughout. He's a nice guy. He's not a hard-ass kind of guy. He's a really nice guy, and he's an unselfish guy, and he's, it's just not his nature to be a killer. But he's got to get that. And usually this season, when he's had a game like he had in Game 2, he does come back strong. That happened in the Knicks series. where he had a game like he had in Game 2, and he came back with a triple-double and more than 30 points. So I think we'll see him tomorrow come out really aggressive. And again, he doesn't have to score 30, but he needs to look to score and draw the defense and make things happen. Now, I was talking with former Pacer Travis Best last night, and he's going to be coming in for the games. He was on the Pacer team that went to the finals in 2000. And he thinks they need to move Halliburton off the ball and let Nembhard handle it more and to kind of take on the dirty work of getting into the lane and drawing the defense. And I can understand that argument. It's interesting, and I've talked about it with various people, and it might be worth a try. Travis said he was going to probably call Rick Carlisle and suggest it, just throw it out there. On the other hand, Halliburton is a guy, he's not a catch-and-shoot guy. He's not Reggie Miller running off picks. He's a guy who scores off the dribble. He's got an uncanny knack for jerking this way and that way and stepping back and hitting that awkward-looking one-handed shot and scoring that way. And if you get too close to him, he can beat you off the dribble. So I'm kind of torn on that, whether or not whether it would make sense for putting the offense in Nembhard's hands more or not. But I would say this, if Halliburton doesn't come out aggressive or he's just not able to do what he wants to do against the OKC defense, then yeah, he better turn it over to Nembhard and let Halliburton approach the game from a different role and see how that goes.
I bet there's people coming out of the woodwork right now to give Rick Carlisle, and it's a totally different situation when it's a player, a former player in the league. But Mark, for Rick Carlisle when he's getting a phone call like that, how much weight does he put on an outsider? Not that he's necessarily an outsider, but someone outside of the locker room. How much weight does a head coach put on something that someone else is seeing?
Yeah, I think
series of the year.
Right. I think in this case he would listen to Travis and respect the opinion, and whether he would look into it or not, I have no idea. But I told Travis, hey, the worst you can do is ignore you and not, implement it. But he's not going to be mad at you. He knows you. He knows you know basketball, that kind of thing. And it's unlikely to me that there's something that Carlisle has not thought of. And gee, I hadn't thought about that. I'm sure he and his staff discussed everything and thought about it and debated it, that kind of thing. But it can't hurt to throw that out there, and he might like to hear that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you could imagine as many coaches around the league that Rick Carlisle knows, and as many former players as he has in his on his resume, and as good as he is about communicating with people. I mean, Rick Carlisle's been pretty generous with his cell number. I've got it. Yeah. And I could text him as easily as anybody else. So he's probably getting just a flood of texts from other coaches, former players, just general people in basketball, front office people, or guys like Travis Best who used to play for him. That'd be a good story, actually. What kind of input do you get in a situation like this? So I think he would be receptive and give thought to all kinds of things because he's a pretty creative-minded guy. But I'm pretty sure he knows what he wants to do anyway.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. On the line right now with us is Mark Monteith, longtime Pacers insider, author, and basketball historian. Mark, home court flipping right here. How big of a deal is this? First time being in this building for the finals in 25 years. How big of a deal is the crowd going to be in Game 3?
It'll be significant. The Pacers have been talking about that since the end of Game 2. They can't wait to get in front of our fans, loudest building in the league and all that. Of course, all teams think they have the loudest building in the league. But it's a big factor. It influences referees, most likely. And certainly the Pacers they've been a good road team. And I think we've talked, most of the great moments in Pacer franchise history have come on the road. So their win over the Knicks to wrap up the last series, to me, was probably the greatest home court victory in franchise history because of all the things that have happened on the road. But it's still a factor. I mean, it's a plus for them. They are although they're a good road team, they'll be comfortable there. I guess the biggest factor of the crowd in these next two games will be the potential impact they have on the referees. Now, OKC has been an outstanding road team. I don't think that they will be intimidated or impacted that much by playing on the road, but it may impact the referees' calls here and there when you have a 50-50 situation.
Mark, whoops! Look, we got the noise in here with our correspondent in the studio. But my last question pertaining to the series right now: mental toughness at this stage. Who would you say has the edge? Is it the Pacers or is it the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Good question. I don't know that either team has a significant edge there. I think both of these teams qualify as mentally tough. They wouldn't be here if not for that. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say OKC. They just strike me by their personality, being, a little more, I don't know what the word is, more aggressive, a little more macho, that kind of thing. Pacers are a really nice guy team, but OKC, has some guys who are really tough-minded. Both teams have guys who were doubted a lot in their careers. None of them were the number one pick in the draft. They weren't spoiled coming up. Most of them really weren't that highly recruited out of high school. They weren't going to. Now, I know Gilgeous Alexander went to Kentucky, obviously highly recruited, but a lot of these guys, like Halliburton, went to Iowa State, and Eastman went to Vanderbilt, and Nembhard went to Florida, but then transferred to Gonzaga. I mean, they were obviously really good players coming up, but they were not, in most cases, the blue chip guys. And for that reason, I think they're a little more mentally tough. They've had to overcome things in their career. So I guess, give a very slight edge to OKC in that regard, but not a real significant one.
All right, moving on from the finals, and of course, excited about Game 3 Wednesday evening. That is tomorrow night. For some reason, I was just having a little bit of a brain blank there, thinking that it was Monday evening, but it is Tuesday, so one day closer. Tomorrow evening, NBA Finals Game 3 between the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But you've watched the game evolve, Mark. What's one old school concept the modern NBA could use more of?
Post play. I think centers who can play well with their back to the basket, and that doesn't mean they can't step out occasionally and hit shots on the perimeter or even three-pointers. But I think inside out is always good offense to run, and if you have a guy who can post up with his back to the basket and be a real threat and maybe draw a second defender and create opportunities that way, it's a real plus. Miles Turner is not really a post-up player. He can do a little bit with his back to the basket, but a guy I've seen so many times when he had a 6'5" guy guarding him and he kicked the ball back out. He didn't know what to do with it, So a guy like him, to me, he should have been working harder on post moves throughout his career. And he had one of the all-time great post players in NBA history, Al Jefferson, as a teammate for 2 seasons. And there's literally only one day I saw them working together. I mean, Al Jefferson had great natural ability for post play, great footwork that you can't teach, but he could have taught Miles a lot. And Miles didn't seem that interested. And if Miles Turner was a great post player to go with his perimeter shooting, that would be a huge plus for the Pacers. And I'm sure, OKC's big men, they're not, really back to the basket guys. So it seems like all the big guys these days want to step out and shoot threes, and that's fine. But why not also be a post player who can score 5 feet from the basket and draw a double team and create opportunities that way? So I would like to see more of that.
Yeah, we put a lot of emphasis on getting that extra point, but sometimes if you're shooting at a higher percentage, actually most times I would say if you're shooting at a higher percentage from the mid-range and from inside the paint, you're helping your chances out a lot right there, which we've been seeing that a lot in the NBA Finals, right? It just hasn't been solely a three-point shootout between these teams. There's been a lot of mid-range and a lot of points in the paint along the way. Mark, writing Reborn, it took you on a deep dive into Indiana's hoops roots. What did you learn about the game's relationship with the state of Indiana that changed your perspective?
Oh, I don't know if anything changed my perspective because I grew up here and kind of witnessed it firsthand. But certainly, the state of Indiana and the city of Indianapolis, they were becoming desperate for a big league basketball presence. You know, high school ball, of course, is big here, and you had good college basketball here. But the city was growing and really wanted to have a major league presence. And there was a committee formed, Greater Indianapolis Progress Committee, wanting to make Indianapolis a major league city, not just in sports, but in the arts and business and other ways. And so the Pacers came along, the ABA came along, and the city got a franchise, and with a lot of good luck, it survived. And, it's still here today. So the Pacers have been really important to the city of Indianapolis because of their early success, and they're very lucky to have that early success. A lot of fluky things. Their success got a downtown arena built, and that downtown arena sparked downtown renovation. It revived downtown, and then the Pacers barely survived in the late 70s and early 80s, and then because they did and became good again, later they got the current field house built, and because of their success earlier, I think the Colts may not have come if they had not had an NBA team and showed they could support a major league franchise. So the Pacers, really sparked a lot of growth in other areas outside of sports and have been absolutely crucial to the development of downtown Indianapolis, which I know a lot of people are impressed with when they come here. And as I think Indianapolis is a major league city now, and the ABA Pacers were really the very beginning of that.
Wow, that is great stuff. I love learning about that. And the interesting tidbit, Tyler Bishop, who's in the studio with us, isn't a huge, really outside of college football and the NFL, he's not a huge fan of any specific teams, but he does like the NFL, right? So it was interesting, hearing
it's
that.
always how the economics of that works.
Yeah.
So I get one team kind of drawing in another, and I've got very fond memories of Indianapolis, my one visit there. So, so I'm glad the Colts are there because I made a great night back in January. 2022.
Yeah, he's a big Georgia Bulldogs fan, Mark. Mark, one more question for you before we got to let you go. You get to play a game of horse with any Pacer, past or present. Who are you picking and why?
A game of horse. Well, let me tell you something first. I'm going to brag on myself a little bit. I could shoot a basketball. If there's the one athletic thing that I am best at is shooting a basketball. I actually, in high school, I played varsity ball, and I was over 80% from the foul line every year. And as a sophomore, I was 90%. I was 18 to 20 for the foul line as a sophomore on the JV team in high school. And you might think, 20 attempts all year. But, I'm out there on the baseline playing against zone defenses and had very few opportunities to get fouled. I actually should have been 19 to 21. But Jerry Barker, my teammate, had a lane violation on my last one of the season. I'm still bitter about that, as you can tell. So I can shoot a basketball. I'm prefacing with that. Who I would play in a game of horse, I didn't have great range. I can't shoot from 25, 30 feet. Never really could, no matter how young I've been. So I would go, I think I'd choose Rick Mount. I talked with Rick today, as a matter of fact. He's one of the all-time great shooters in the history of basketball. His range would be too much for me, but I would like to play him because when I was in grade school, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and that was just like the biggest thing ever. I mean, before the days of ESPN and the internet and all that, being on the cover of SI was the biggest thing that could happen to an athlete. So when Rick Mount was on the cover in 1966 as a high school senior, that was just like, unbelievable. And he was kind of a hero to a lot of young kids here in Indiana in the late 60s. So I think Rick Mount would be my choice.
That's a great choice right there, Mark. We are up against a break, so we've got to run. But thank you so much for your time, and go Pacers.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, that's Mark Monteith. Used to write at the Indy Sun back in the day, or the Indy Star back in the day, and obviously has wrote multiple books and knows the history of the game better than I ever will. So appreciative of fellas like that coming on fellas and ladies coming on the show and giving us their analysis of how they see the world of sports. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Don't forget about the 4th annual Pops Pig Pick and Barbecue coming up this Saturday, June 14th from 12 to 6 p.m. at the Break Room, which is located at 2727 Joan Avenue. A little buy or bail action coming your way next.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's what's happening.
Hi, this is Ryan Mulvey, and thank you for nominating the Inside Drive on the 2025 Best of Bay. To vote for the Inside Drive as the best radio show in Bay County, go to ESPNPC.com and click Best of Bay. And remember, for a brighter future, vote the Inside Drive in 2025. This message funded by ESPN Northwest Florida and the Committee to Elect the Inside Drive.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Tuesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a gentle breeze out of the southwest, some sun and 86. Possible thunderstorms and partly cloudy skies tonight, about the same at 79. Tomorrow, likely thunderstorms and a light breeze right around 5 miles per hour with a high of 87. About the same at 89 Thursday, and we'll have some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Get ready to discover new adventures this summer and hit the road in a new 2025 Kia Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Telluride. Experience what everyone's talking about and stop by for a test drive. Discover the perfect fit featuring spacious 8-passenger seating, premium interior, advanced safety and technology features. Bill Bird Kia, the home of that 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. The road is yours this summer in a brand new Kia from Bill Bird Kia.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2025 Kia Telluride with $2,253 per $1,000 financed at 48 months. Qualities limited, cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7/7/25.
Transmitting from the CBC Construction Studio. ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdog.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the CBC Construction Doghouse. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. CBC Construction is your home for construction here on ESPN Northwest Florida. You can call them at 850-747-3815 or visit their website, cbcconstruction.com. Thanks for nominating the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and the Coach Hale Morning Show as your favorite radio show in the Best of Bay from the News Herald. To keep your radio fun and positive in Panama City, Lynn Haven, PCB 38, and across the county of Bay, go to ESPNPC.com and vote Ryan Mulvey or Coach James Hale for Best Radio Personality in the Best of Bay. And thanks for listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Our text-in question of the day is if NIL was a thing had existed back in the day, who would have been the richest college athlete ever? Text that into 850-215-6290 on the Red 7T phone line. They are the brand that brands you. And also, last but not least, before we dive into buy or bell, Hiller Plumbing, our confident service technicians, will provide you with the solution for any home plumbing, heating, or cooling problem. Let us show you how we can make you a happy Hiller customer. Contact your trusted licensed technician in Panama City today. Call them at 850-290-4341 or visit their website at happyhiller.com. I'm David Hayes along with Tyler Bishop and Caveman Rick. Here are the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. A little buy or bail action. Arch Manning will be the best Texas quarterback since Vince Young. Paul Feinbaum believes. Does Tyler Bishop believe Arch Manning?
What's the bar? Is it Colt? Colt McCoy, right? I guess that's not even a knock against Colt McCoy, but
right. Who was the backup who came in? Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah,
he ended up transferring to SMU, I believe, or something.
He made it to the league, though.
Yeah, but Sam Ellinger had a decent career at Texas.
Can we just go back real quick? I was so happy when Garrett Gilbert came into that game after Marcel Darius just ripped Colt McCoy apart. Yeah,
but
let's just go back real quick to 2009. I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's your show. I'm just here for it. But we're not talking a huge, a super high standard there.
It
is
interesting.
A pretty good quarterback. He stuck around the league for a long while. Third round pick, and he had some good years in the Big 12 though. So statistically, he may have trouble reaching. I don't know what Colt McCoy's best year was, but
probably 2009, the year that Texas.
Yeah, but I don't know the numbers were. I guess, but I don't think it's probably a pretty, I don't know if safe bet's the right word, but if he is who he is supposed to be, that should be an easy buy.
I have to agree with that. All right, since Colt McCoy, David Ash, since Vince Young, rather. Yeah. Colt McCoy, 2006 to 2009. David Ash, 2011, 2013. The placeholder for the next McCoy, Case McCoy, who was a quarterback for 2012, 2013. Sam Ellinger, 2017 to 2020. Then Quinn Ewers, 2022 to 2024. This makes me feel old reading this, bro.
Yeah,
there hasn't been that many quarterbacks.
That's the thing, is the quarterbacks are not very, it's not a who's who star-studded cast here. So, if Arch Manning is as good as he's supposed to be, it should be an easy buy. I don't know if he is, though.
All right.
That's my hot take going into the year.
The portal era. Caveman, any thoughts on that?
I'll probably sell that.
Oh, Bill. Okay. So he's going to be kind of like...
we hadn't seen it. If he was that great, we probably would have seen more of him last year, probably. You know what I mean? So
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And again, I think Sark was feeling the chemistry between the Texas wideouts and Quinn Ewers.
But it was two new wide receivers, though.
That's a good point.
They brought him back from Bama. They had the rookie Wingo.
I'll still say I think he felt like Quinn Ewers gave them the best opportunity to win.
I think Ewers was definitely probably the safer of the two options.
It's kind of a loaded question, though, because even if Arch Manning goes out there and he's decent, he's going to get bumped up because of the name.
Yeah.
So people are going to look at him like he's better than what he really is.
His decent his decent will be portrayed as elite.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe not elite, but just very good. You know what I'm saying?
All right, his very good will be portrayed as elite. His decent will be portrayed as good. His bad will be portrayed as decent. His very bad will be bad. Yeah.
Or something like that, if he doesn't do well.
He gets the he gets the go ahead.
He's gonna have some privilege in his evaluation next year.
Some Manning privilege.
He gets the tism, the nepotism, the tism.
Okay, that's
that tism.
Yeah,
not the other tism.
We always got to get the clarification from Caveman Rick.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
That's fair. Yeah.
Seen a few babies today. Well, did you kick them or did you kiss them? What direction were you headed towards in today, brother? Let's go to the portal era. The portal era makes building dynasties impossible. Coming from the latest dynasty, I would say dynasty-ish.
I think that's tough.
And we're going to need more time to actually say, but right now, do we buy or bail it? I'm going to buy it. I'll say that to give you the opportunity to play devil's advocate or whatever side you want to play. The reason why I say that I'll buy this is because you can have a guy on a championship winning team and before they even get in the championship game, hits the portal. I think it's going to be really hard. We're already seeing it. We're seeing how hard it is to keep a cohesive group together. So, yes, I will say that it will make winning 3 championships in a row. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen it in college football?
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Yeah, basically.
Way back in the day. So for me, college football is winning 2 out of 3 seasons for a dynasty, or 3 out of 4, whatever it may be. But I think that this makes it impossible.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what the actual definition for dynasty we're using. I mean, if you're talking like 2 and 3
years. We can't let Caveman Ray come into it because then there's never been a college football dynasty.
I mean, it's hard not to say that Bama. I mean, Bama at the very.
No, I know that. Well, do you consider Bama a dynasty?
I mean, like,
because his is pretty strict.
Mine
on
is like
3.
You got to win 3 in a row, man. 3's a dynasty. Like
3 in a row.
Yeah. Because I mean, okay, like.
Oh, so there's never been a college football dynasty.
That's what I'm saying though, because like dynasty is something that's supposed to be reserved for like extreme excellence. It's something that you don't just throw around. You know what I mean?
What Bama did, they're saving not extreme excellence.
Not excellent enough.
I mean. I'm not. You have your definition. That's
but
cool.
He wasn't able to win like 3 in a row. Like I'm just saying, like okay, you win 1 is 1. You win 2, it's you know.
But it's like 3 out of 4, not extreme excellence.
I mean, you can maybe look at it that way, but still, like the term I think for a dynasty or definition is 3 or more championships in a row consecutively without a break. It's like the whole reason why a dynasty, the word comes from like monarchies.
So there's never been an NFL dynasty then.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean that's cool.
Well, I'm just saying,
and again, dynasty is like Caveman Rick's definition of dynasty isn't the end all be all.
Dynasty, okay, it comes from like monarchies and stuff, where like one family has ruled like a particular. Like for a stretch without a break. Okay, there's no break in the rule. So there's no break in the championships. It's got to be sequential. It's got to be, you know what I mean? So to me, that's the way the dynasty. And people nowadays, they just want to throw terms around so loosely. Like in hockey, they use the term hat trick. Okay, a hat trick. An original hat trick, a natural hat trick, that's you getting 3 goals consecutively with nobody else scoring on either team.
I didn't know that.
And you're getting 3 in a row, and that's it. That's why it's called a hat trick. It's like a magic trick, okay, to get 3 goals before anybody else does anything else. Okay? It's reserved.
But that's called a natural hat trick now, though.
They had to come out with that term because people, as soon as somebody got 3 goals in a game, they wanted to start just throwing away. Oh, it's a hat trick. It's a hat trick. No, a hat trick is 3 consecutive. He just happened to get 3 goals in a game. But now, because people want to, like, you know, add hyperbole to everything, make it more grandiose and gratuitous than it is. Now we call any time you get 3 goals in a game a hat trick. Now when somebody smart knows what they're talking about it, if it is a natural hat trick and they get the 3 consecutive, they'll be smart enough to say, hey, this is a natural hat trick, which makes it more special.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. Like, honestly, I just learned something new. So to Rick's point, no, there will never be a college football dynasty.
Yeah, but we're not looking. But Nick's, and I'll also say this, Rick, and maybe you disagree with this, but shouldn't dynasty be different across different sports, kind of contributing to how hard it is to win in that sport? See,
again, it's got to be consecutive, you know, and stuff like that. You know, you got to, I mean, like I said, that term is reserved for like extreme excellence. It should only be used when it's like, you know, appropriate.
See, I will say to that point, like you're talking about extreme excellence. Like if we're looking at the last, there's been 50 something Super Bowls and like it hasn't happened in that time. So like looking at what is the best run, like if you're talking 3 out of 4 is the absolute best anybody's ever done, that's kind of extreme.
But you had it like with NFL championships with like teams like Green Bay and stuff in the past before there was quote unquote Super Bowl.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So stuff like this has happened. It just doesn't happen now in more recent terms because of like free agency. There's all these other
teams.
There's other things, these mitigating factors that lend itself to it not happening.
But I guess that's kind of my point. Like for modern NFL football, like 3 out of 4 is probably the most extreme excellence we've seen. So like
in the NHL, the Islanders had a dynasty from like 79 to 83. They won 4
in a row.
consecutive Stanley Cups.
Awesome.
They were going for their 5th Stanley Cup in a row, and they lost to the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Finals. They were almost won 20 consecutive 7-game series in a row. They won 19 in a row.
Awesome. Like that's
excellent.
Just really
19 7-game series in a row. Like that's
insane. I mean, like I said, it would really depend on your definition of a dynasty. Because I think if you're, you know, you could see like a Georgia or Bama sign a quarterback, right, and he comes in freshman phenom, win it 2 years in a row or 2 out of 3 years. So depending on what your definition of a dynasty is, I think you could. I think it's gonna be so hard because you're not gonna see what we saw from the Saban Bama or the Georgia 2021, 2022 team where you had like 39 guys off that defense get drafted or whatever, 39 players. getting drafted because you're just not going to see guys wait around for those opportunities.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. When contracts, when from commitment to contract, meaning that in 2 years, when we get to where contracts can get out for 2 years or whatever, and they are contractually obligated to stay for another season, then I could see us going back into a dynastic age.
Yeah, maybe depending on how enforceable those contracts end up. Yeah, obviously, but as I'm just going like rules based on how they are now without knowing exactly how it's going to change.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I'll buy that for now.
Now it would be bragging when somebody wins 2 in a row. It's like, oh my God, they won 2 in a row. It's amazing.
I think that's something to be brag. I mean, I think winning 1 right now is something to brag on. Is it special? Like, is it excellence? No. Winning 1? No. But you win back-to-back with, especially in college football right now, having to go through something that what Ohio State did last year, no one else in college football has ever accomplished that, right? And to win, to take down the Oregon Ducks, right, who are undefeated. I mean, there's some degree of excellence right there. To lose to Michigan as many times as Ohio State, to some degree, may not be excellence, but it's excellent for us fans down here in the South. You're right with the Afternoon Underdogs. We went a little long there, but we're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. We're going to dive into the college football underrated, or to the FPI Top 25, and Tyler's going to tell us, are they overrated or underrated? Hey, we're on track for the first hour. How about that?
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Let's check out Greg first up.
So, Paul, as you know, and you've come back to the motherland of Alabama, why not Senator Feinbaum?
It would probably take more than one person to get me elected, though. Can you?
I'm sure it would, but
can you handle it? Do you have any idea what it pays?
Paul Feinbaum, weeknights, 6 to 10 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy and a possibility of thunderstorms tonight with a wind coming out of the south-southwest at 5 miles per hour and a low of 79. Tomorrow morning, look for very light rain and likely thunderstorms with a temperature near 84. The afternoon and evening, a high around 85 and very light rain and likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi, folks. It's Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Did you know that we have a master jeweler right here in the store? That's right. She has over 20 years experience in the art of repairing jewelry. Most repairs are done within a week. So don't send your jewelry off for 6 weeks. Bring it to us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We size rings and solder chains. We can reset your diamond into a new setting and even custom design. You'll get your jewelry back quickly and looking as good as new. Tracy's Fine Jewelry, Bay County's trusted jeweler for over 50 years.
This is Patrick with Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. Your home is your piece of paradise. Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control can protect your home from unwanted bugs and insects. These pests can cause damage, bring in germs, spread bacteria, viruses, and other problems. To stop and eliminate this from happening, our pest control service is what you need. Call Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control at 850-890-5820, 850-890-5820, or look us up on Facebook at Turf Pro PC.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the doghouse built up by CBC Construction. If you want a doghouse built like this, go to cbcconstruction.com or call them at 850-747-3815. Hit us up on the Red 7T phone line, the brand that brands you, at 850-215-6290. Our call-in question of the day: if the NIL had existed back in the day, who would have been the richest college athlete ever? Text in 850-215-6290. We got a few texts in earlier. Tim Adams says outside the box names due to their cult followings. How about Adam Morrison and Jimmer Fredette? College basketball stars right there. Adam Morrison at Gonzaga and Jimmer Fredette at BYU. Makes sense.
Here's one. How about this goes back because of more than one sport, because he had football, but then also like lacrosse. What about Jim Brown?
Oh, Jim Brown, NIL. Now, again, it goes back to, like era and everything, where it's like,
and he had racism and stuff like that too. But I'm just still saying. But you're talking about talent and a guy that was good at a couple different sports and had a name for himself. Definitely.
People back then would have been so ticked off having to listen to the radio. And now Jim Brown and his long list of endorsees or endorsers. Let's see. Yeah, Jim Brown would be a great one. Also, Tim Adams says mainstream names Cam Newton and Reggie Bush. They made a lot under the table. How much would they have made straight up? We got King Cullen saying Shaq. I believe that. Right State Christian Leitner would have made so much money. Yes, he was.
Everybody hates him.
Yeah, well, but everyone loved him at Duke and everyone hated him that wasn't a Duke fan. He also says Larry Johnson with the UNLV running Rebs.
They were making money, though, shaving points in Vegas. So he was getting paid.
You can find something with everyone, man. There you go. Oh, also, we were talking in the break last time, Eric Dickerson. Who made
Pony Express.
Come on, one of the leaders in this.
Yeah, you watched that 30 for 30. He's telling he got paid.
There you go. A trio of Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley, and and Frank Thomas.
Here's one, man. Because we're all thinking like here, but I'm thinking more internationally, man. If they came over to play like soccer, man, like Messi or Ronaldo, guys like that,
Yeah, that's true. But I think a soccer player who comes from overseas to the States is not a great soccer player. Unless they're at the end of their career, right?
No, I hear you, but playing for college. They came to play for college or something.
I wonder what the largest NIL deal is in college. You know who would know? Dana Griffin. Griffin would probably know what that largest NIL deal is in college.
Because there's the NIL deals, and there's people like Livy Doon making money off her social media. Like, I don't know how much money she made, but there's different types of making a lot of money off NIL. But the problem is so many of those contracts aren't released. And you have all these collectives and everything doing all these basically pay-for-play payments. I know you get some of these guys, we've seen it with, DJU and Bryce Young doing the Dr. Pepper commercials.
Shouldn't they have to release it because of tax information and taxes and stuff with the government and the IRS?
I don't...
Wouldn't you think, though? Wouldn't you think the IRS is how much you getting?
They're getting W-2 or, 1099s or whatever. But
again, okay, so, this is another thing, okay, with NIL, okay? So say this, it's probably already happened, too, okay? So you sign an NIL deal for, say, $1 million or whatever the amount is, right? But you have a little handshake agreement that it's actually not $1 million. That just was on the books. I'm actually getting $2 million, right? $1 million on the books that the government, everybody else is going to know about, but you're going to funnel me whether it's McDonald's bags, duffel bags, whatever, another $1 million cash money. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. Then you're talking Bitcoin probably for $1 million. I think $1 million cash is hard to hide. But,
I know. But if you're already, if people know you're getting this amount of money, if you're getting that extra amount, you can spend in other ways that it's not going to throw up red flags.
There's no point from an NIL perspective of faking the numbers like that because, there's no regulation on it. So, if you're the company or whoever paying them, there's no added value to
the IRS being taxed. This is a way to launder or funnel the money, if you will, without having to pay that side of it.
Caveman Rick, car wash enthusiast.
I bet you 90% of these college athletes ain't thinking about taxes.
I guarantee you're thinking about stuff like this.
I would think it would depend on the athlete and how much they listen to their circle.
Not only the athlete. I think they got, like you said, people in their ears, and they got other people telling them, parents, handlers,
the problem
agents,
is,
whoever.
I would say, how many of these student athletes getting these come from families that probably aren't used to dealing with these kind of problems
but some
thinking
people
about that.
They're just also thinking about every nickel they can squeeze out of everything too. Some of these people are. And that's why some people are hey, let's go take a deal down in Florida. Why? No state income tax.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I just don't know. I just don't know if anybody, especially from the business side, if you're risking tax evasion for an 18-year-old.
Well, I'm not even doing this, and I'm thinking about it, and it's not even you know what I'm saying. So I'm thinking if I have these interests, I'd be thinking about stuff like that.
Right, but someone who's in that realm, hopefully they're worried about doing. There's going to be people who are going to do things dirty, but then there's also going to be
afford to pay a college kid $2 million come play for their school. They're not going to get on the hook for that tax bill if You know what I'm saying? Like, they're probably smarter than that.
Hopefully. But I mean, like, you see all the dumb stuff people are doing, too.
I mean,
because they think they can get away with it. They can get away for so long with so many other facets. Like, hey, I could try this.
I mean, maybe.
You just never know.
I've never thought about it before, but I mean, I'm not arguing that it's happened either. Like,
hey, at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings. So anything is possible, be it right or be it wrong. ESPN has released their FPI top 25, top 10 being Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami, and Tennessee. We're going to go through this list, and Tyler, Caveman Rick can jump in. I'll jump in. But mainly, Tyler Bishop is going to be telling us if he believes that this team is overrated or underrated. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. David Hayes, Tyler Bishop, Caveman Rick, the Afternoon Underdogs. Tonight, coverage starts for the Braves and the Brewers at 6 o'clock. First pitch at 6:40. Atlanta Braves baseball on ESPN Northwest Florida is brought to you locally by Best Way Portable Buildings, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, and Brock Pest Control. Number 1, Texas Longhorns. Right there at 1. Are they overrated or underrated?
Man, I wouldn't put Texas at number 1. They lost a lot off that defense. They lost first one wide receiver Golden. Lost another running back to the draft, which it seems like they're doing every year now. Sark hasn't really proven he can win a conference. It's weird because they were carried by that defense. That defense lost a lot of experience. And unless Archie Manning is that guy, I don't understand the hype. And I know a lot of that is coming from Arch Manning. And in their defense, maybe he makes me look like a fool because based on who his family is, it's hard to bet against him. But, I mean, they've got so many question marks going into the year. The fact that they're considered the number 1 team is shocking to me to an extent because there's so many question marks. But if I'm looking at the next 4, 5, 6 teams, there's nobody I would say, like, I would definitely put them ahead. Ohio State. I mean, Georgia's got their big question marks. Bama's got question marks. Ohio State. Penn State's probably got the fewest question marks. But are you going to
put Penn State at number 1?
I'm sure as heck's not.
You don't want that egg on your face or
like,
that. Ugh.
I mean, fade Penn State against any quality team is a pretty solid betting strategy. Oregon, like once again replacing their quarterback, Notre Dame. Now we're getting Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami. I'm definitely not putting any of those. So like, I wouldn't have them at number 1. But I can't say I would definitely put somebody else over them.
You don't have much options.
Like, I think you're betting on the potential of Arch Manning there, which I don't think the FPI should be doing because it's an analytics-based thing. And it gets better as the season goes on. They get more.
Well, I think it also helps with the roster that Texas has around Arch Manning.
Sure. They recruit well, portal well, right? At least from a star metric system.
I think that is the separation between Texas and Penn State. Because really, I mean, throw Oregon. So those top 6 teams, I think, are all vying for the top spot. I would take Alabama out of the mix. I can't put them.
If you put any of those top 6 teams at number 1, I would feel the same way. But I would also feel the same way as I don't know if I'd put anybody definitely above them.
Yeah,
so I think that's fair.
I think it's overrated due to the tism, like I said earlier.
Okay, that's fair. I mean,
the sensational.
I'm going to put him over. I'm going to put him overrated. But like I said, I would put whoever is number 1 overrated.
Right, overrated, but barely, and don't know who to replace them with. So there's not a definitive number 1.
And I think part of it, what we're seeing is part of it's portal, part of it's maybe NIL, part of it's whatever. Like, I feel like the last couple seasons, we've gone into the season with such high question marks at the top.
Yeah.
Like 2022, 2023, like we knew like Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama, we're all going to be dominant teams. And then there may be somebody else, those played out kind of that way. But now, like the last 2 years, like Ohio State had the roster, but even then they lost 2 games and wouldn't have made a 14 playoff.
Yeah, they Georgia did not look great until the playoffs.
Bama had their issues. You know what I'm saying? Every team besides Oregon really throughout the season had their issues. So, like, I feel like maybe it's the parity kicking in that, like, none of these look like traditional preseason number 1 teams we've come to know and expect. Maybe we have to adjust our expectations.
Or look at it this way. You look at that list of the top 5 or 6 that you named off. None of them have a standout real player. Like Arch Manning's like the one guy, like the one big name guy that everybody knows about, like on those teams, right? So have you put him like on a different team, that probably takes number 1. Then you know, put Arch Manning on Georgia.
Part of it is the Arch Manning. Oh, if Arch Manning,
if you
something like that,
we'd be feeling great right now.
So, that's what I think.
Right. That's the whole narrative around Arch Manning. If he's on your team, you look at him differently. But if he's not on your team, you're like, well, what's he shown?
For sure. No, 100%. I mean, that's fandom for you.
So all 3 of us will go with overrated for Texas.
Mystery always has value.
How about Georgia? What are we going with there?
If we're talking a preseason ranking, I think they're overrated. I think they've got a lot of question marks going into the season. But again, like when I say that Bama's, but if you told me the postseason they finished number 2 overall, I'd probably say like I'd believe you. But I mean, you're looking questions at quarterback, questions at running back, Questions on the offensive line, questions on there's questions across the board. O-line did not play well enough. The offense as a whole didn't play well enough, led the country in drops. No Carson Beck now. Lost a few players on defense of the draft, which is not shown to be a huge issue for Kirby Smart. But, again, I would probably say they're overrated, but I don't know 100% who I would definitely have above them. I mean, if Ohio State was above them, I wouldn't argue it. Alabama was above them. I can't say I'd necessarily argue it. Penn State, I would hate it, but I would understand it based on what they return production-wise from Drew Aller and the 2 running backs coming back. And they've recruited pretty decently. Oregon has probably as big of a question mark at quarterback, but they've recruited well. Dan Lanning's done some really good things in a short time there at Oregon. So I'm going to say they're overrated right now, but, I mean, it's Kirby Smart. Georgia, he's got the talent, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to put for Georgia right here just because of outside of one team that I already mentioned, I think that they've got the top 6 right, and Notre Dame is really going to be the question. The last 2 years they've had notable transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I don't know who their quarterback is going into
right off the
season.
top of my head. I could not say. I can.
Yeah, you go ahead and Google that. But so for that reason, I'm going to put just right for Georgia. There is one team here in the top 6 that I do believe is underrated, and I would probably have them.
So they've got a couple just recruits.
Okay.
One of them, C.J. Carr, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, former Michigan.
That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting just the storylines that build there from why didn't you go to. Yeah. There you go. Caveman, what would you say about Georgia? Overrated, just right, underrated? Doesn't
Probably
matter?
just there, just right, because of, the recent history and stuff, and it's real tough to tell. I mean, all these teams, I really hate these preseason rankings, to be honest.
Yeah, but...
Gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to do that,
mute your mic then, brother.
Just because of the way, the rankings affect how teams move or have movement up and down the chart or the rankings throughout the season.
Yeah,
I'd rather it just be how it ended last season, and that's how it starts this year, and nothing preseason based off of well, we think this team is doing this because these players left. It's wait and see what happens. You got players teams are reloading.
Yeah.
Just because. You had a handful of teams or players leave, or you had a wealth of players leave because the team just won a championship or something like that. It doesn't mean they're not going to be good next year.
Yeah.
Give them a fair shot. It's you're the champion until somebody knocks you off, right?
I think they should. I would love it if they were much more fluid, but the pollsters want to dig in and be like, oh, well, we had them 10 preseason and they looked really bad for the last 3 weeks, but they've won, so we're going to keep them 10.
Yeah, because they don't want to look wrong later on.
They don't want to admit they're wrong.
They don't want to, eat crow. Well, so what? Then do away with it, man. If you're just going to be stubborn and say, hey, I don't want to look like a dope in a couple weeks, what's the point?
Yeah, I get that. My thing is I just don't put too much stock into the beginning of the season rankings, but you need those to drive what games are going to be popular.
The only thing I do hate is when, a team let's say Florida is a top 20 team preseason, and they go 6-6, but then LSU or whoever plays in week 2 is boasting it as a top 20 win. It's come on, they're finished 6-6. You should not be counting them as a ranked win because they were ranked week 1 or week 2 when you beat them, and they've lost 6 of their last 7. That's the part what gets me is and that's part of an ESPN thing. Just when they're doing the playoff shows and wanting to list these ranked wins, come on, that's not really a ranked win.
I think if a team is still all right, so let's say that you play Ohio State's playing Oregon, and when they play them, they're ranked 10, but by the time they play but by the time that the season is over, regular season, Oregon's sitting there at 10. At 15. They fell 5 spots. That to me,
that's different.
Right, yeah,
but
if you're someone who was ranked at the beginning of the season, if you're Florida, you're 20 at the beginning of the season, but then by the end of the season, like you said, you're 6-6, and you're not even in the rankings. That shouldn't count as a ranked win.
NC State was a big win for Tennessee, 2 last year, and then they ended up being a 7-5 team. But we were still they had this ranked win against this. No, they didn't. Come on, let's just don't have to lie to yourself here.
It's a good point, and it's something that the committee looks at. Those ranked wins, they don't look at the strength of schedule, and which that's not a knock. Whatever your clarification, ramification, whatever your process is, then that's what we just want to know what the process is. Alabama, be consistent with the process. Number 3, Alabama. For me, I'm saying overrated. What you showed last year, and you had the world in your palm after beating Georgia.
Yeah,
and then you inexplainably inexplicably lose to Vanderbilt like that, and then the loss to Oklahoma. I mean, just a what the heck type season, which is all right. It is what it is. It was Kalen DeBoer first season, but don't come here and tell me that they're a top 3. Now, one of the interesting things, something that we haven't seen since that portal that we talked about, no one left Alabama in that 10-day
the spring portal.
Spring portal. Yeah, so interesting. I didn't even know that till yesterday. That's a pretty big deal, though.
Yeah. I think Georgia had 2 guys that were basically kicked off the team for arrest.
Wait, did I say underrated? I meant overrated.
You said overrated.
Yeah, okay.
I agree. I mean, again, if you told me at the end of the year that Alabama ended up number 3, I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't be shocked. But what we saw the way they ended the season against Oklahoma and then Michigan, the 2 of their last 3 games, and then they're losing Jalen Milroe, they're losing some guys off that team. Like, man, I don't love it. I really don't. I mean, and if we're being honest, Kalen DeBoer shouldn't get the same benefit of the doubt Saban got, because he hasn't proven to be Saban. Nobody has.
Yeah.
So, like, I get it. I used to get it with Saban. You kind of have to put him up there. Kalen DeBoer shouldn't be getting that respect just because of the A on the shirt.
Yeah.
And so, like, if they were 6, I mean, they're in the top 3. I would probably put Ohio State above them, maybe Oregon. I don't know. I think Oregon's kind of lower on the list compared to something where I'd put them. But, again, the top 6 are kind of who they are. Any order you could probably argue. But the way they lost 2 of their last 3 games and who they lost them to, 2 6-6 type teams, like that's.
Oh, and don't forget the bowl game either.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Well, it was Oklahoma and then Michigan was maybe like a 7-5 type team.
Yeah, but still,
but they beat Ohio State, so there was that. But like to lose those 2 teams, like.
And Michigan, I feel like Michigan didn't even have half their players in.
Yeah, and I mean, Bama had, they had Jalen Milroe playing, they had some of these guys playing, and it's just, it was not a great end to the season for Kalen DeBoer, so.
No, it was not. We'll see if Ryan Grubb can change that. Overrated, underrated, just right for Bama. We'll just stop playing the game with you,
man. I mean, like you guys were saying, I mean, the top 6 is really you know what I'm saying? It's negligible. It really don't matter. Right?
Let's rapid fire through some of these real quick. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We'll rapid fire through 6 and 25. We'll just get Tyler's takes on it and mine real quick. But what would your top 5 be? I've already got mine written out, so I'll go through that, and then you can go through yours. I would have Ohio State number 1, going into what Caveman Rick said, where they're the champion from last year. So just start them off at number 1, especially when we have such a not clear picture of who the number 1 team is going into this year. Number 2, I'd have Penn State because of that's the team who's bringing the most back. Number 3, I would have Texas because of how much they've spent on their roster. Number 4, I would have Georgia because of the same argument that you made about what Kalen DeBoer is getting at Alabama. I think Kirby Smart has earned the benefit of the doubt. And then number 5, I would have Oregon. And then right outside of there, Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami, Tennessee. We'll talk overrated, underrated, but I wouldn't really care. Outside of Tennessee might be a little. We'll talk about that when we get there. Top 5 teams from Tyler. What you got?
I like those. I'd probably swap Georgia and Texas just because Georgia beat Texas twice last year.
Fair enough.
I mean, they get them in Athens, which shouldn't matter in a power ranking. I think Texas and Georgia are probably pretty similar as far as question marks, but I think Georgia has just proven to reload a little bit better than Texas has. But I would probably go Ohio State, and I would probably mock them for having Penn State number 2, but I can't say necessarily to disagree. Yeah. That's more of my feelings on James Franklin and just what Penn State does in those bigger games. But I would do Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Texas, Oregon.
All right, let's rapid fire riff through these here. Oregon,
they're underrated at 6.
Underrated. Okay.
I mean, we just both said we would have them at 5. So I mean, they're underrated at 6. I think I'm surprised they're not a little higher.
I say the same thing. Notre Dame.
I'm going to say they're probably just about right, just because I'd say they're probably. I would honestly probably have Clemson higher. I mean, looking at the list, Clemson probably deserves to be a little higher.
That's why I would have them overrated, just because where they're at, and every single year you can't. I mean, I know what happened last year for Notre Dame, fun run and all that good stuff, but still overrated. Yeah. Texas A&M.
Overrated.
Always.
Yeah. I mean,
always.
Reese had a good game against LSU or whatever it was, but then sucked against Texas. Like, we'll see how they come back this year.
Will they be the epitome of inconsistency yet again? How about Miami without Cam Ward, but with Carson Beck?
I think they're overrated. I don't know. I don't think Carson Beck can have the same impact Ward did.
Yeah, and I think to have them top 10 right now,
9-3 with Cam Ward.
Yeah, and having them at the top 10 right now is a recipe for disaster. When we're talking about this right here, not for Miami season, but we're talking about overrated, underrated. You know, if we look, we see, they've got them at 9 right now, but by the end of the season, they're not in the top 25, which could or could not be the case for the Hurricanes. I would say that you're overrated at that point. Tennessee losing What's his name?
Nico
You go to UCLA, and that's what happens. Nico Iamaleava headed over there. You know, we're not going to have to worry about too many people mispronouncing his name last year because no one's going to be talking about it. So he's over at UCLA, and then the guy that had the quarterback that transferred into UCLA out of App State is going to be the quarterback leading the Tennessee Volunteers. Overrated or underrated at 9?
I'm going a little overrated. I mean, losing James Pierce Jr. on the edge, losing Dylan Sampson, much bigger, I think, than losing Nico. And I mean, Heupel's been good, but I wouldn't have him top. I don't think they're a top 10 team, but again, looking at some of the teams below them, I can't say I definitely.
I'm going to go overrated as well, just because to think that the next quarterback is going to come in and play better than Nico, who didn't play very well last year. I think that's a big ask, a tough ask. So I'll say overrated for the Volunteers, and they're just overrated in my heart anyways. Clemson.
I think they're underrated, especially when you're factoring the ACC. I mean, I think Cade Klubnik's going to be one of the better quarterbacks returning. I think they're probably one of the best chance of finishing higher than their current ranking.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like Clemson to be underrated right here at the 11th spot and taking one of Texas A&M, Miami, Tennessee, one of those spots right there. LSU, I've got the same thing. I'm starting to change my tune a little bit because of all of the comparisons. Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, first year to second year. Garrett Nussmeier, is he in line for a big year? Quite possibly, but I don't have the belief in Brian Kelly. But I'll still say underrated for LSU.
Yeah, I'd probably have LSU above Tennessee, and I'd probably have them above almost everybody. I'd probably move Clemson up to just under Notre Dame and LSU just under Clemson.
How about Ole Miss?
I think they're a little underrated. I would probably have them above Miami, Tennessee, and Texas A&M right now. I mean, new quarterback, Dark's gone. They play the portal well. Lane Kiffin's a fun offensive guy. So I think I'd have them a little higher.
I'm going to say a little overrated right now. There's a lot of hype. Austin Simmons is a quarterback, right? A lot of hype around him. But I don't know if they find the chemistry that they need here in year one. It's still an uphill battle year in and year out for Ole Miss, even though they're included in the hype. So I'm going to go with slightly overrated. How about this? At 14, Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. And if you saw the background for their recruiting page, their commitment page, atrocious, but absolutely Auburn as it gets. What do you think about the Auburn Tigers?
This man came out and said, "Yeah, I'm not a fool to the expectations. We definitely have to make a bowl game this year." That's what this man came out and said 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. Overrated as all get out at 14. Like they may end up making me eat my words this year, but I kind of bought into them last year. They sucked, so overrated.
I know that we're a affiliate here with the Auburn Tigers, but I am not buying into that. Overrated. You got to prove it. I know that the conversation has been wait till Hugh Freeze gets his guy. I was saying that for 2 years. Look, time is out. You either
I don't know
get
if
it
Jackson
done.
Arnold's the guy either, though. That's the problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And right. Even much more so. So either get the job done or Auburn, y'all need to.
It's the meme of the old guy holding up the shirt. And it's the same shirt. Like, that's Jackson Arnold from Peyton Thorne right there. Like.
Well, there's more hype around Jackson Arnold.
I mean, there is, but
because we knew Peyton Thorne. Like, what are we doing here? Is this that should have been a sacrificial year? But they did what? They did 2 years.
They rode with him a second time.
It's like, come on.
I mean, maybe
man.
Deuce Knight comes in is the truth, but we'll see. I'm not sold on it.
All right, South Carolina, overrated, underrated.
I mean, I'd have him above Auburn for sure, but I mean, outside that, I think 15's about right for him, though.
I like just right. I like just right, so I'll go with JR there. Oklahoma.
Overrated.
Yeah, how'd they get all the way
A
up
lot
here?
of hype from their new offensive coordinator from Washington State. John Mateer came over with them. You're hoping Venables' defense is going to do Venables' defense things, but I think they're overrated based on what we know.
Michigan, overrated, underrated?
Overrated.
Who's
they're gonna have Bryce?
What's the $10 million?
Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if he comes in and he's that guy, then sure. But until then, I mean, Sharon Moore did not outside those last two games did not particularly impress me last year.
But those last two games were impressive. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw Michigan a bone because I said Ohio State was underrated, and I like Michigan more than I like Ohio State. I'm going to say that they're slightly underrated. I mean, they could be where Oklahoma is.
I wouldn't be surprised. So.
Number 18, Florida.
Overrated. I mean, I like DJ Lagway's game. I don't love his injury history so far, and I don't really love Billy Napier as an X's and O's head coach guy.
I'm going to go with just right for the Florida Gators because I actually believe in them, and I think that they could be a surprise sleeper or dark horse to win the SEC this year?
Hey, you can make some money on that if you're really feeling it.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that, I really believe in DJ Lagway, man. And if he stays healthy throughout the year, I think that this could be one of those. If not, Billy Napier's gone, right? Well, not if they don't win the SEC championship. But 8 wins?
I would say 8-4 has got to be a reasonable goal for him.
USC, what in the world are they doing on this list? Overrated.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but the thing is, look at the next 6 teams after them. I'm like, well, I mean.
SMU, overrated, underrated?
Probably over. I don't know what they lost, if I'm being honest. Like, I didn't keep up with SMU's depth chart. I'll say they're, whatever.
Just right?
Yeah, it's probably just right.
All right, that sounds good to me.
They did make the AC championship, win 11-1 last year, so we'll cut them a little.
How about your squad here, the Wildcats of Kansas State?
Oh, man. I mean, I think K-State's probably about right there, but you definitely got to see that growth from the quarterback, God, whose name I cannot think of to save my life in the moment.
Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson, yeah.
I had to think basketball coaches, bro. Alabama basketball coaches.
He definitely needs to grow some this year, but he's a big kid, great runner. He just needs to develop as a quarterback this year.
I'll say just right, just not knowing. You know what? I'm going to say slightly underrated because of Dylan Edwards. I think he has a big year for Kansas State this year. Arkansas Razorbacks. Little high for them, feels
overrated.
like.
Yeah, I love Sam Pittman. I don't see it from. I mean, Bobby Petrino, Sam Pittman. We'll see what they can do, but I don't see it.
How about Missouri Tigers?
I'm gonna go.
Eli Drinkwitz every other year for them.
Lost
right?
Brady Cook though.
Yeah,
lost Luther Burden. Lost Theo. I think they got a lot to rebuild. I think they're gonna be average.
I say overrated as well as far as top 25 goes. Arizona State, no Scattaboo. Underrated.
I think they're gonna be under. I think that they returned the quarterback. They returned some of that wide receiver core. The Big 12 is going to be very winnable. I think they finished higher than 24th.
Okay, I'll say this. Yes, but I don't think they have a run like they did yet.
No. They're not going to make it. No, I agree.
But I'll say slightly under them. Finally, last but not least, let's go husk some corn, Nebraska.
Overrated till they prove me otherwise.
Yeah, come on.
The rule for the last, 25 years for Nebraska, since Eric Crouch left Nebraska.
And now it's the rule to be around that area with Matt Rule. You're right with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We only went 11 minutes long right there, but we did what we set out to do, which is follow the show sheet. Coming up next, we're going to keep it rolling. We've got some bold predictions, and with Tyler, we're going to play Fact or Fiction.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show.
How thought out was firing Tom Thibodeau? Because I thought, okay, then you know who you want to hire. If I'm Jason Kidd, do I want to leave the opportunity to coach Cooper Flag? Unless Jason Kidd and Giannis get reunited.
It's the Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 9 till 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy and a possibility of thunderstorms tonight with a wind coming out of the south-southwest at 5 miles per hour and a low of 79. Tomorrow morning, look for very light rain and likely thunderstorms with a temperature near 84. The afternoon and evening, a high around 85 and very light rain and likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Need a bed and have no space? The Sleep Center has a new Clover Murphy bed. Convert a functional cabinet into a comfy queen-size bed in less than a minute. Easy to use, easy to love.
The Sleep Center, where it's bedtime all day long.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
Need a bed and have no space? The Sleep Center has a new Clover Murphy bed. Convert a functional cabinet into a comfy queen-size bed in less than a minute. Easy to use, easy to love.
The Sleep Center, where it's bedtime all day long.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. Get the edge on the competition with the latest lines, expert picks, and everything you need to place your bets. Elevate your game day experience with ESPN Northwest Florida. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse riding with David Hayes, Tyler Bishop, and Caveman Rick, the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. You can visit cbcconstruction.com or call them at 850-747-3815. Our confident service technicians at Hiller Plumbing will provide you with the solution for any home plumbing, heating, or cooling problem. Let us show you how we can make you a happy Hiller customer. Contact your trusted licensed technician in Panama City today at 850-290-4341 or their website at happyhiller.com. Tell them ESPN Northwest Florida sent you, specifically David Hayes, and they will help you out. I'm not saying that they'll hook you up with any discount, but they will do the intended work as trustworthy as possible, as they always do. Our call-in, text-in question of the day on the Red 7T's phone line: what if NIL had existed back in the day? Who would have been the richest college athlete ever? You can text that in to the Red 7T's phone line at 850-215-6290. Rob Johnson chiming in. He said Maurice Claret.
Okay. I mean,
he got plenty of tattoos.
Get your goose on. But he only played like 1 year, though, right? Because like he started fighting the NCAA on the NFL, the legality of going pro after 1 year. But maybe with NIL, he wouldn't have fought it because he would have been making money. So maybe, it's a whole different butterfly effect there. But I think he only played like
2002, 2003, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it was a great answer.
For 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
Golly. That was a heck of a game, too, the 2002 BCS National Championship, Miami and Ohio State. Golly gee. All right, so we're going to dive into some bold predictions here. I've got 4 from people, big names in the world of college football. And then I just went to 247sports.com and found some there. So basically, you're going to say that bold prediction will be fact or fiction. All of these are true statements, are true bold predictions. And Tyler will say if they will play out to be a fact or fiction with these bold predictions. Danny Cannell, one of your favorites of all time, the SEC champion will have a 9-3 regular season record.
I don't see it. I think Texas' schedule sets up too favorably.
Yeah.
Georgia's schedule sets up more favorably than last year. Mm-hmm. Without knowing Bama's schedule on top of my head, if they are good enough to win, I just don't think you're going to be good enough to win the SEC and lose 3 games. Like I just don't think those are coexisting beliefs there. So
all right. So undefeated.
I'd probably put the over under at like 10.5. I think 11 wins.
So 1 to 2 losses.
I think 10 or 11 wins. I'd be surprised. I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to be less than that.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see an undefeated SEC team, but I think it'll be kind of like last year was 11-1 versus 10-2. I think that's probably what we're looking at.
So the stamp is fiction.
Fiction.
Bud Elliott says Penn State's offense will be better than its defense this year, which is a rarity for the Nittany Lions.
It should be based on returning production. But, I mean, they did just bring in Jim Knowles coming off the national championship at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But he didn't even have a great impact at Ohio State year 1.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably it should be fact. If it's not, then it's probably either Penn State is elite and their defense is elite in their offense, or they're not going to win anything. They're not going to win anything. We can just ignore Penn State for all football season. For all they're going to go 10. They're going to go without looking at the schedule 10-2 or 11-1 and lose to somebody with more talent than them in the playoffs. That's what's going to happen.
I'm waiting on our schedule, our in-house schedule, to be all graphed up and put back in here. Chip Patterson says Florida State and Boston College will have the same numbers of win.
I was kind of glancing at both schedules, and for Florida State fans, I hope it's not true because Boston College only has like 3 games I think I would call right now like definite wins.
Definite dubs.
Well, and partially that's because of Boston College being Boston College. Florida State should have more wins. Outside of maybe Bama and Clemson, there's probably no game I would, sitting today that Florida State couldn't win. They could probably win at least one of those if some things clicked. But I'm going to say that's fiction, and if it's not fiction, there's a good chance that Mike Norvell is not in Tallahassee unless Boston College has a great year.
Oh, all right. This one from Tom Fornelli. You said that one was fiction, right?
Florida State should have more wins.
Should. Yeah.
I'm going to say fiction there.
The Florida State fans are glad to hear you. Who do you think wins? I don't know who Florida State's playing the first week of the year, but it's a pretty big game. They're playing some team.
They probably start out 0-1.
Start 0-1? Okay. All right. You're still so mad that they're playing that game at 2:30, man. Because there was a chance I was going to want to go to that game, but I have no interest at all in going to that game now. I would have more of a chance, or I'd have a bigger interest in going to like a tailgate and watching the game outside of the stadium more so than
that's
going
what the Daisy
inside.
Dukes are for, man. You know?
Hey, there you go, brother. Hey, you would think that I was wearing Daisy Dukes this last week of the way my sun, like it goes from tan to sunburn to white. I got the three-layer deep. Yeah, that's what. That's good. The Neapolitan. Oh, hit F8 on the board. Bone Crusher can make something out of that. UNLV seals a group of 5 berth.
I kind of like that because they're going to get the Dan Mullen hype too.
Yeah,
with him being over there, and I wonder. Obviously, we only got 2 years of the 12-team playoff, but like, are they going to have kind of Boise State fatigue? Like Boise State got a chance, didn't win. Mm-hmm. Like if it's between 2 teams, like and Boise State just made it, would they give UNLV kind of the chance to prove themselves? Like, which is not fair because it's a completely different Boise State team, whatever else. But I wonder if that would play a role just to give a different team a chance. Because what's the point of expanding it if you're not giving different teams? That's the whole point. I'm going to say yes because I think Dan Mullen is a pretty good X's and O's guy from an offensive perspective. He's not a great recruiter. He hates it. But I think they do enough because they were almost there last year.
There you go. Fact or fiction? Fact. He goes with fact. How about this one? The season produces another first-time college football playoff champion. Is that fact or fiction? We ask our college football prognosticator, Tyler Bishop. Almost a college football protagonist.
You're banking on probably Oregon or Texas at that point. I'm gonna say fiction. I'm gonna say fiction.
Fiction. All right.
I don't believe in Sark, and I don't know if I.
But they wouldn't be first time
playoff champion.
Playoff champion. Yeah.
You're talking the major major contender. I'm gonna say fiction. I'm gonna say one of Bama, Georgia, Alabama wins it.
You don't think Florida State gets it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Ohio State, Bama. I think it's going to end up being one of the 3 that we've seen.
Dude, I would love it for this area if Florida State made the playoffs. What if Florida State and Florida made the playoffs? Dude, how on fire would this area be?
Especially if they got matched up or like they had to both win a game and play each other or something like that.
The Red 7T phone line better be lighting up because that's when it does the best, man. When Florida and Florida State are playing good football and that rivalry has intensified.
Or could you imagine we're going into the last week of the season and like the winner is in the playoff, based on record, and the loser's more than likely out based on record? Like, whoo, man, that would be a fun week.
Yes, sir. Well, let's hope for it. Cade Klubnik will break the ACC single-season touchdown pass record. Kenny Pickett holds it right now at 42. I believe Cade Klubnik had 36 last year.
I mean, that's about 3.5 a game. Yeah. I'm doing the rough math. I'm going to say fiction. I don't know. I mean, Garrett Riley is a little bit different offense from what they had run previously with some of the other big-time quarterbacks. So obviously none of them have done that. But I'm gonna say fiction.
All right.
Because hopefully if you're a Clemson fan, you're hoping you're winning enough. He's not playing late in some of these games too. So
I'm excited to go through our recap of 2024 and see how we did by conference.
I'm interested. Like, I know some of them I did pretty decent. Some of them I sucked, but
Alabama rebounds as SEC championship. Fact or fiction on this bold prediction?
I'm gonna say fiction, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's a fact. I mean, I think they're definitely one of the top. I mean, I just said I think they're one of 3 teams that wins the national championship more than likely. So I'm kind of giving DeBoer some of the benefit of the doubt. But I got to see it, especially from the quarterback position. I'm interested to see how that goes with Ty Simpson and those guys there.
This one's tough without looking at the schedules and all of that good stuff. But do you think that the Big Ten will have 6 9-win teams? So Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State,
Michigan.
Are they winning 9 games?
I don't know. I mean, without knowing their schedule.
Right, without knowing their schedule.
They got to play Texas this year.
So we'll call them a plausibility.
Then, I mean, even if...
That's just 4 right there. Indiana, are we counting on them to win 9 this year?
I'm going to say fiction. I mean, that's a lot of teams. Yeah. And they don't have the depth that the SEC does.
Bill Belichick loses his first 3 games against power competition. Power conference competition. They start the season off against TCU. Then their next 2 games against Power 4 conferences will be UCF and then Clemson.
I don't know if Scott Frost can turn UCF around that game. But, I mean, TCU... has not done a whole lot since the national championship beatdown. They got UCF again, new coach. And I mean, they'll lose to Clemson, but I'm going to say fiction. I think he wins at least one of those first two.
All right, and then last but not least, fact or fiction with this bold prediction, Carnell Tate, not Jeremiah Smith, will lead Ohio State in receiving. Carnell Tate was kind of your number 3 guy last year behind Emeka Egbuka. He's now in the league. So Carnell Tate, do you think he'll outdo one of the most highly touted receivers of this generation? Phrase that you love, generational talent.
I think it's possible. I think it ends up being fact just because if I'm a team, I'm going into the game like if you let Jeremiah Smith beat you, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, fine, if Carnell Tate goes off for 120 and 2 touchdowns, like, that's cool. But if you let Jeremiah Smith do it, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good point. So,
I'd rather let anybody else beat me at that point.
I love that take. Hopefully it's the same with Bama this year. And I
mean, that should
Ryan
be,
Williams.
it should be kind of a similar thing. Like, it's like going into a game with the Titans and Derrick Henry back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, you can't let Derrick Henry beat you, even though he would.
Yeah,
but, like,
he still would.
So if Ryan Tannehill goes up for 400 yards and beats you, that's fine. But you can't let Derrick Henry beat you, right? Like, it's kind of that same mindset.
I agree 1,000%. I would say, Tyler Bishop, that is fact. That was fact or fiction with bold predictions from the outside media of the world of college football with our college football prognosticator, Tyler Bishop. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Got a little start bench cut. We're going to lead it off with Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Steve Young. Are we taking Mahomes' dual threat edge? Will Peyton's field IQ reign, or will it be Steve Young and his efficiency? Find out next, right here on the Afternoon Underdogs.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd. Quarterbacks can be a lot of things in the NFL, but they can't be weird. You start looking at the stories that came out. Aaron Rodgers was the Steelers' 3rd choice. Aaron's career is ending the way a lot of careers end for relatives and musicians and actors. Aaron's aging the way weird ages.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Weekdays, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Tuesday. Partly cloudy and a possibility of thunderstorms tonight with a wind coming out of the south-southwest at 5 miles per hour and a low of 79. Tomorrow morning, look for very light rain and likely thunderstorms with a temperature near 84. The afternoon and evening, a high around 85 and very light rain and likely thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. See Mid-South Lumber for all of your DIY projects, including windows, doors, siding, lumber, and millwork. Are you building a new home? Bring your contractor in to Mid-South Lumber and meet with a member of their sales team to discuss your framing, siding, windows, and doors. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City. 717 West 11th Street.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linden. Call 850-320-8388.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
But I wonder how much time he really kind of put into the playbook.
Where it's halftime all the time.
He may be the cream of this crop of quarterbacks.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Well, they got to do something here, but otherwise this is just going to be another lost season for them.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse. This doghouse built up by CBC Construction. You can head to their website, cbcconstruction.com. They're looking for a few good men. You can also call them at 850-747-3815. Braves and the Brewers right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starting right after the Afternoon Underdogs. First pitch tonight at 6:40. Braves and the Brewers. Can't wait for that game. And the Braves have Grant Holmes on the bump tonight going up against the Brewers' Quinn Priester. All right, let's see what else we can dive into. The Pop's Pig Picket Barbecues this Saturday. Also, Chef Ross is looking for someone to help him flip the hog overnight. So he's going to be cooking that thing Friday night. He needs someone to show up to the break room and help him. So if you'd like to spend the night at the break room and help out Chef Ross, give us a holler, and we will set you up with him. I have no idea what the actual details of that are, but he'll be on the Inside Drive tomorrow morning. So if you've got any questions for Chef Ross, text them in to us on the Red 7T phone line at 850-215-6290. All right, we don't have very much time here. Also, while we're in this period before we get to college football, if you know of an athlete or someone who would be really interesting for us to interview here on the Afternoon Underdogs, this is that time of the year to start filling spots up. So with that being said, text their name and information or tell them to get a hold of us at 850-215-6290. Love interviewing the people who the listeners would like to be interviewed. Start, bench, cut. NFL Eras Edition. I got a current player. I've got a player from the superstar from the 2000s and then an icon from the 90s here. We'll start it off with the one that I said, all right, since I said that, we've been sticking on script so well today. I'm actually impressed by us. Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Steve Young. You're taking the dual threat of Patrick Mahomes, the field IQ of Peyton Manning, or the efficiency of Steve Young. Caveman Rick, how about you?
I'm taking the brain IQ of Peyton Manning, start him. I'm going to take the mobility of Steve Young, bench him, and I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes and I'm going to send his ass down the road.
Man, I knew someone was going to do it, and I knew it was going to be you.
And I feel like,
he's won and done some stuff, but he didn't win this past year. He ain't that great.
Tyler? Does he have the most Super Bowls of anybody? I mean, I know he's got more than Peyton. We're
it's
different eras, Joe. Different eras.
I mean, is that his fault?
I'm just telling you. I'm just saying, you know.
But I mean, it's hard for me because, it may be easier for Rick because, Steve Young was early in my, football watching days. I don't know if I got to really watch Steve Young's prime.
You're right.
We're kind of towards the.
Well, unless you were watching the USFL, you really weren't. No, I'm just.
Yeah, so it'd be hard for me to not cut Steve Young just because I don't have the same appreciation for his game. If I'm being honest, I know he was great. But I didn't watch it for myself. I mean, we grew up watching Peyton, watching Mahomes do what he does now. So I'd probably start Mahomes just because of what he can do. Payne on the bench and cut Steve Young.
So your answer predicated which direction I was going to go just because I didn't want us to have the same unless I felt 100% that I had to go that direction. Yep. Listen, Steve Young, I did grow up watching him. Peyton Manning, I was able to focus on more. The information retention with Steve Young wasn't as well as when I was that age with Peyton Manning. But, I mean, still incredible. Well, we talk about Patrick Mahomes and his dual threat. Steve Young was of that ilk. He was a mobile quarterback and very efficient and took the starting job, albeit from injuries. But still, I mean, we're talking about the guy who was the successor to Joe Montana, which is, those are big shoes to fill. We talk about Bozeman Bucks in the baseball squad and the shoes to fill for the next head coach there. Think about when it was Steve Young filling Joe Montana shoes. So, and Peyton Manning, my favorite quarterback of all time, which pains me to say as a Tennessee Titans fan, I hate the Colts, but Peyton Manning was just so fun to watch him orchestrate that offense. So I'm going to, because you started Mahomes and my mind is saying start Mahomes, I'm going to start Manning, bench Mahomes, and then cut one of the most fun guys to watch, one of the most fun guys to play backyard football on the computer with, and Steve Young. All right, let's go to, how about some wide receivers? Who do you need on 3rd and 7 with the season on the line from these options? You've got Cooper Kupp, now a Seattle Seahawk, looking like he just fits in there in Seattle. Hines Ward, old Georgia boy. Man. And then Chris Carter, which I don't remember where Chris Carter went to school at.
The Ohio State.
That's why I don't remember. I don't keep trash up here in this brain. All right, so what do you got? We'll start with you, Tyler.
Man, that one's tough. I mean, you got two Super Bowl MVPs in Chris Carter. So, I mean, man, I think if you're looking from a per reception perspective or receiver perspective, it's hard not to cut Hines Ward. But I mean, God, the guy was such a good team player, devastating blocker. Great player. Little versatility to his game. Played quarterback at Georgia for a bowl game. Played running back different. Like he played all sorts of positions in Athens. So it's hard for me to cut him. So I'm going to be a homer, and I'm going to. Man, I'm going to start Cup, keep Ward or bench Ward and cut Carter.
All right, Caveman Rick.
Looks like I will start Cooper Kupp. I'll bench Chris Carter. I'll send Hines Ward packing. Chris Carter, just honorable mention. If he didn't have the problems he did with like substance abuse and stuff back in the day, especially when he was a Philadelphia Eagle, he might have still stayed an Eagle.
That was with Randall Cunningham, right?
Yeah, and they got rid of him because of those problems. He wasn't able to keep off the dope, basically. So like yeah, if it wasn't for that, man, who knows what kind of a wide receiver that guy, because he's one of the greats. And then if you change that around.
And him and Randy Moss with Dante Culpepper.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. You know what? With Chris Carter and Hines Ward, their numbers are a lot closer than what I
thought.
Yeah. For Chris Carter, it's 13,899 yards on 1,101 receptions. Hines Ward has 1,000 even receptions with 12,083
he had
yards.
More success with the Super Bowls, and that's kind of what gives, I think, more of the boost and notoriety and stuff.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking Chris Carter by a landslide over Hines Ward. I was thinking by a landslide. I mean, Chris Carter was one of the premier wide receivers in my heyday, and then Hines Ward was as well. But I just felt like the numbers were going to be receiving yards. Were going to be in favor of Chris Carter. And Chris Carter did play 2 more seasons than what Hines Ward did. Right now, Cooper Kupp, 634 receptions, 7,776 receiving yards, 57 touchdowns in 8 seasons played. So, I mean, he's right on track with these guys as well. For start bench cut purposes, though, I would start Chris Carter. I would bench... See, I'm stuck here because Hines Ward would be my guy for 7 yards. Because I believe in Cooper Kupp, no doubt, and he could get your 7 yards. But if it's a 6-yard pass, who do I believe more to fight for that final yard? Hines Ward or Cooper Kupp? So I'm going to bench Hines Ward and then I'll cut Cooper Kupp. All right, 2 more minutes right here. So let's go with the running back one. You're up 4 with 5 minutes left to go. Who do you start bench cut here? Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, or Terrell Davis?
Man, I love me Terrell Davis, but it's hard to cut either of the other two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start Peterson, bench Henry, and cut Davis. As much as I hate to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I will start Derrick Henry. I think I'll bench Terrell Davis because he's won championships, and I will get rid of Adrian Peterson. Championship.
I just don't know if I could cut Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was the man there for a while.
And I can't cut Derrick Henry. That's the issue. But Terrell Davis was one of my favorite running backs of all time. Is what I used to love with John Elway. Come on. It don't get no
baby. He was the guy.
What's that?
For like 3 years, dude.
Super Bowl MVP, Terrell Davis. Let's go.
We used to be at Awanas getting ready to do things, do activities and whatnot. Me and my buddies would get up there just mile high saluting the crap out of each other. Let's go. Derrick Henry start. I'll bench. I'm gonna bench AP and I'll cut Terrell Davis.
It's but the other two are just so good. It's hard not to
It really is. We don't really have enough time to do another one here. Tyler, anything you want to leave the people with as we wrap this week, this Tuesday up?
Man, it's always a good day to have a good day.
Always a good day to have a good day. It's always a good day to drink one of these beautiful caffeine-free squirt thirst quenchers, little grapefruit soda. Yeah, it's old and so am I. You know what? I'm just embracing. Yeah, I'm embracing my beautiful lawn and how you guys should stay off of it and how I should just raise my fist and shake it at the angry cloud. Which tomorrow we're gonna have the rain cloud in the building with us. That is Adam Goff. For Caveman Rick, for Tyler Bishop, I'm David Hayes. Don't forget to vote for Ryan Mulvey and the Coach James Hale Morning Show in the Best of Bay. Just go to ESPNPC.com. Coach James Hale Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. Inside Drive with James will be back at 11. Your Atlanta Braves are coming up next. First pitch tonight at 6:40. Just remember, Jesus loves you. So do I. Y'all have a great day and be safe.
Mother in the pain.